A Texas judge just stopped one town from voting on a data center because the neighbors filed suit first, and the buildings would have sat about 506 feet from their backyards. In Michigan, a developer is suing a city right back for blocking its project. And in Montana, 3,600 signatures and one deadline that quietly moved may decide whether data centers reach the November ballot. We start in North Texas, where the fight over a data center has become a fight between two towns. Judge Kimberly Fitzpatrick of the 342nd District Court issued a temporary restraining order blocking Westlake officials from voting on, approving, or taking any action on the Circle T data center, after the Lakes at Marshall Ridge Homeowners Association and two residents filed suit. The project would place roughly 1.1 million square feet of buildings on about 88 acres off Highway 377, as close as a few hundred feet from Keller backyards. Keller's city council voted unanimously to hire outside counsel and begin the process for a 90-day local moratorium. Mayor Ross McMullin said every legal option is on the table. Westlake defends the site as industrially zoned and says it would lift town revenue 14%. But not every developer waits to be sued. Some of them sue first in Gibraltar, Michigan. The developers behind a proposed 100-megawatt data center on the former McLouth Steel site have taken the city to federal court. Radin Acquisitions and Cal Realty filed a lengthy complaint in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan, arguing that Gibraltar's one-year moratorium was adopted only after they submitted their site plan and was designed specifically to stop their project. They say the use is already permitted under existing zoning, and that the city improperly enacted the pause as a resolution rather than an ordinance. The complaint alleges due process and equal protection violations and an improper taking of property rights, and asks a judge to declare the moratorium invalid and order the plans approved. Courts are becoming the venue of choice, and residents are using them too. In Butte, Montana, the question in front of a district court judge is whether 3,652 signatures still count. The group 406 people first delivered them, and the county clerk accepted the petition on July 31. 10 days later, the initiative was rejected for failing to meet requirements under a Montana law adopted in late 2025. And the group was told the real deadline had been July 13 all along, not August 14. Judge Frank Joseph has already issued a temporary restraining order barring the city-county from destroying or segregating the petition sheets, or treating the initiative as finally rejected. Attorney John Meyer argues the statute itself is unconstitutional, and that the power of initiative belongs to residents rather than the legislature. A ruling is expected within days. Out west, one county did not wait for a court. Nye County, Nevada simply banned them. Commissioners voted 5-0 to prohibit data centers in the Pahrump Valley and Basin 162. After a meeting that drew hundreds of attendees and more than 2 hours of public comment. Even with a 2-minute limit per speaker. Commissioner Ian Bain, who made the motion, amended it so the ban covers the Pahrump groundwater basin rather than the entire county. A scope commissioner, Bruce Jabor, said he preferred, since other parts of Nye may still welcome the industry. Resident Teresa Reddle told the board the community had grown frantic over the issue. Commissioners separately voted 4-1 to schedule a hearing on a companion bill creating land use rules and special use permitting elsewhere in the county. A proposal for a countywide special election died without a motion. Groundwater is the thread running through all of this. Nowhere more so than Piedmont, Oklahoma, where residents need 172 valid signatures to force a public vote. 3 citizen initiative petitions are circulating. one pairing a temporary moratorium with impact studies, one setting hard limits on noise, and one requiring citizens to approve any project based on those study results. The target is Project Open Sky, a cloverleaf infrastructure campus that would rezone roughly 630 acres for about $1 billion in investment and as many as 500 permanent jobs. Resident Ali Taylor says water is the central concern in an agricultural town, and that it should go to farming and livestock rather than industrial cooling. Cloverleaf Chief Executive David Berry counters that the design uses closed-loop cooling, comparing it to an air conditioner. The Planning Commission has recommended denial. State governments are now writing rules of their own. Pennsylvania's is the strictest yet. Governor Josh Shapiro signed an executive order directing the Department of Environmental Protection to refuse to even review a data center permit application unless the developer has made a legally binding commitment to the state's responsible infrastructure development requirements and has already secured local government approval. Those requirements cover energy affordability, environmental protection, workforce and economic development, transparency and community engagement. The order also removes AI data center proposals from Pennsylvania's fast-track permitting process entirely, and prohibits the use of non-disclosure agreements on these projects, the secrecy that has defined so many of them. Shapiro said the state is tracking roughly 100 proposals, only about 5 of which actually hold permits, and called many of them poorly planned. He signed it after the legislature declined to pass the standards itself. Another governor spent this week apologizing for a process. Utah's Spencer Cox told reporters at his monthly news conference that the approval process behind the Stratus data center in Box Elder County was, in his words, not good, and that the Military Installation Development Authority that shepherded it needs major reform. MIDA was created to handle development around military installations. Cox says it has suffered mission creep, and he wants the governor's office given a larger role when lawmakers return to the Capitol in January. This is a notable shift. Cox once defended the Stratus project, which is backed by the investor Kevin O'Leary, partly on national security grounds. Before public pushback softened his tone, he has since signed a separate executive order creating a statewide framework for evaluating large data centers, prioritizing water, the Great Salt Lake, ratepayers and air quality, and yet the Capitol keeps arriving anyway. In the Texas Panhandle, Infratech Capital is advancing a $2.7 billion data center campus across more than 5,000 acres in Carson County, just outside Amarillo. The firm is assembling a consortium of institutional investors, with a major hyperscaler expected to serve as anchor tenant, though the anchor, the counterparty and the co-investors all remain undisclosed until definitive agreements close. Beyond the campus itself, Infratech says it will fund expanded fiber optic cable manufacturing capacity, adding new production lines with a global manufacturing partner to supply this platform and other large-scale digital infrastructure projects. There is no final investment decision and no announced construction start date. It is a reminder that while towns argue over setbacks, groundwater basins and petition deadlines, the money behind these campuses is still being raised at a scale most local governments have never had to answer. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment. It helps us cover more of these stories.